My dashboard is showing that I'm not streaming, but I think I am. So we're going to continue. Good morning, philosophers. We are going to finish up Euthyphro today. I'm going to back up a little bit to one of my favorite paragraphs. I told you a short while ago, this is Euthyphro, Socrates, that it is a considerable task to acquire any precise knowledge of these things, but to put it simply, I say that if a man knows how to say and do what is pleasing to the gods at prayer and sacrifice, those are pious actions, such as preserve both private houses and public affairs of state. The opposite of these pleasing actions are impious and overturn and destroy everything. Socrates: You could tell me in far fewer words, if you were willing, the sum of what I asked, Euthyphro. But you are not keen to teach me, that is clear. You were on the point of doing so, but you turned away. If you had given that answer, I should now have acquired from you sufficient knowledge of the nature of piety. As it is, the lover of inquiry must follow his beloved wherever it may lead him. Once more, then, what do you say that piety and the pious are? Are they a knowledge of how to sacrifice and pray? Euthyphro: They are. To sacrifice is to make a gift to the gods, whereas to pray is to beg from the gods. Definitely, Socrates. It would follow from this statement that piety would be a knowledge of how to give to and beg from the gods. You understood what I said very well, Socrates. That is because I am so desirous of your wisdom, and I concentrate my mind on it, so that no word of yours may fall to the ground. But tell me, what is this service to the gods? You say it is to beg from them and to give to them. I do. And to beg correctly would be to ask from them things that we need. What else? Says Euthyphro. And to give correctly is to give them what they need from us, for it would not be skillful to bring gifts to anyone that are in no way needed. True, Socrates. Piety would then be a sort of trading skill between gods and men. Trading, yes, if you prefer to call it that. I prefer nothing unless it is true. Ooh, that's a quote. I prefer nothing unless it is true. But tell me, what benefit do the gods derive from the gifts they receive from us? What they give us is obvious to all. There is for us no good that we do not receive from them, but how are they benefited by what they receive from us? Or do we have such an advantage over them in the trade that we receive all our blessings from them, and they receive nothing from us? Do you suppose, Socrates, that the gods are benefited? I need to make sure that it's clear who I'm reading from. This is Euthyphro. Do you suppose, Socrates, that the gods are benefited by what they receive from us? Socrates: What could those gifts from us to the gods be, Euthyphro? What else do you think than honor, reverence, and what I mentioned just now to please them? Socrates: The pious is, then, Euthyphro, pleasing to the gods, but not beneficial or dear to them? Euthyphro: I think it is of all things most dear to them. Socrates: So the pious is once again what is dear to the gods? Euthyphro: Most certainly. Socrates: When you say this, will you be surprised if your arguments seem to move about instead of staying put? And will you accuse me of being Daedalus, who makes them move, though you are yourself much more skillful than Daedalus and make them go around in a circle? Or do you not realize that our argument has moved around and come again to the same place? You surely remember that earlier the pious and the God-loved were shown not to be the same thing but different from each other. Or do you not remember? Euthyphro: I do. Socrates: Do you then not realize now that you are saying that what is dear to the gods is the pious? Is this not the same as the God-loved, or is it not? Euthyphro: It certainly is. Socrates: Either we were wrong when we agreed before, or, if we were right then, we are wrong now. Euthyphro: That seems to be so. So we must investigate again from the beginning what piety is, as I shall not willingly give up before I learn this. Do not think me unworthy, but concentrate your attention and tell the truth. For you know it, if any man does, and I must not let you go, like Proteus, before you tell me. If you had no clear knowledge of piety and impiety, you would never have ventured to prosecute your old father for murder on behalf of a servant. For fear of the gods, you would have been afraid to take the risk, lest you should not be acting rightly, and would have been ashamed before men. But now I know well that you believe you have clear knowledge of piety and impiety, so tell me, my good Euthyphro, and do not hide what you think it is. Euthyphro: Some other time, Socrates, for I am in a hurry now, and it is time for me to go. What we call that in gamer terms is GGEZ. Socrates: What a thing to do, my friend. By going, you have cast me down from a great hope I had, that I would learn from you the nature of the pious and the impious, and so escape Meletus's indictment by showing him that I had acquired wisdom in divine matters from Euthyphro, and my ignorance would no longer cause me to be careless and inventive about such things, and that I would be better for the rest of my life. That's the end of Euthyphro. There's something that reading this reminded me of that I haven't thought about in years, called the Euthyphro dilemma. Let me get my journal, one sec. All right. Want to read what the Euthyphro dilemma is. This is like a philosophical dilemma where you're stuck between two options that are not any good. So the Euthyphro book was all about piety, what is pious, what is not pious. But if you take the same logic that Socrates was sort of chasing down there and apply it to God himself being good or acting good, you get the Euthyphro dilemma. So the question is, the dilemma is that which is good, good because God wills it to be good, or does God will it because it is good? Let me read that again. Is that which is good, good because God wills it to be good, because God chooses it to be good, or does God will it because it is good sort of a priori, outside of God? Does good pre-exist God, and God wills the things that are good because they already were good before sort of he came along? Is he taking his direction from an external source of good? Or is what is good, this is a question for theists, right? Or is what is good, good because God basically chooses that it's good? It's one or the other, right? If the former, meaning if good is what God chooses is good, then God dictates morality, and then morality becomes basically arbitrary. It's if this person just gets to choose what is good and what is evil, then it kind of loses its gravitas. It's what like he could will that concentration camps are the good. And then not only would we all expect concentration camps, but we would all sort of need to desire them if we were to be good. If it's just up to his choice, right? God cannot be good. This is another implication of it. God can't be good because he's picking what it means to be good. So it would just be like a God is thing. The label good wouldn't really apply to him because he's choosing. He's picking the rules. So God being omnibenevolent is kind of no longer impressive. So when you say one of the traits of God is, omniscience, omnipotence, and omnibenevolence, which means always good, never acts bad. But if he's choosing arbitrarily, just in his own opinion, what good is, then omnibenevolence is kind of begging the question, almost, right? So if the latter, meaning good sort of pre-exists God or exists outside of God, and God wills it because this external thing that determines what good is says it's good, then God isn't omnipotent because he is constrained by something he did not create. He's sort of reading from and controlled by an external manual that tells him what he can and cannot do. So it sort of reduces his omnipotence. It's one of those two. That's the Euthyphro dilemma for theists. Either he doesn't control what good is, in which he's less powerful, which would reduce his omnipotence, or it's just whatever he wants, which makes it arbitrary. So that's a challenge for theists. There was one theist thinker, I can't remember his name now, but he tried to solve this dilemma by just saying that, well, God was good. God is good. God is somehow good. What is the good is somehow woven into God's being, his person. But this is just an extension of the second one, where it's something external to himself that he's bound to. So it doesn't actually solve the dilemma. It just means that, if he's actually omnipotent, he would have the ability to change himself. He would have the ability to change. Otherwise, he's not omnipotent. And so if he can't change over time, if he can't change himself, and then again, it falls in the second horn of the dilemma where he's not as omnipotent. Yeah, so interesting thoughts for that. We'll probably make this a shorter one today, guys. I've enjoyed this process so far. So far it hasn't been too disruptive. So I think I'll continue it maybe, and we'll just go for a full month and see how it goes and see if we have anybody that enjoys it. Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting week for me. The thing that I'm going to focus on today is kind of I'm going to focus back on the theme of the month for me, the theme of March, which is to be excellent through my habits. I am what I repeatedly do. So today I'm going to make sure that all of my habits are intact, and that I keep to them, and that I have not let any of them fall off, so that I can continue on my path towards excellence. All right, guys, have a great day. See you soon.